Hello and welcome to this update video around this thing here. This is the AR Wing Pro. Now, I did a video about this a week and a bit ago now. This is a wing I had a little bit of involvement in the design of, and sadly still not been able to maiden it. The weather in the UK is just horrific. However, I have been playing with it quite a bit, so I thought I would go through the stuff I found and some of the setups, how easy it was to get the central gravity right, what the flying weight was, and also SonicModell have released some kind of tips and tricks in the final release box, and so there's some really good information in there. So I kind of wanted to make people aware of all that. If you pop one on order and you've got it coming, I just want to draw all this to your attention. Now, I was going to maiden this without a flight controller in it, with just simple FrSky smart port things in. So I popped a smart port GPS and a smart port current sensor, which would also allow me to figure out roughly what the efficiency was of this wing. From the little bit of testing that I've done here, I'm looking at the specs on the SonicModell website. Cruise current on this is about 5.5 amps, and that's going to give me about an hour's flight time on a 7,000 milliamp hour pack. So I'm really interested to actually get this maiden done, and apologies to all of you who are chomping at the bit for me to do it. I will do it when the weather is nice and calm. One of the things I want to see and test for lots of people who asked is how stable is it in yaw when it's flying, and that's why I've put the HD FPV system on from DJI, so I can record locally in 1080p and we can watch it back and we can see. Now, since that initial setup, when it became clear that unfortunately the idea that I had with the weather changing was to, get a flying buddy, go to the field, get him to throw it. He could have the hat cam on, he could be my spotter, I would have the DJI goggles on, we'd fly it around and I'd be calling out to him some of the key OSD information. Unfortunately, you can't record the telemetry still in the DJI goggles. Come on DJI, get that fixed. And then we could kind of work it all out at the end. Because it looks like that isn't going to happen, it's going to be me on my own with somebody else as a spotter who probably isn't radio control savvy to the same extent. I've put a flight controller in here. So in here I've done the usual. There's an F405 and there's a little GPS in this pocket at the side. It's only a little BN220, but it's going to be perfect for flying around. And that's in there really for auto launch and the oh dear return to home, if nothing else. I'll launch it in auto launch, and then once I've got it trimmed, I'll trim the control surfaces using auto trim and iNav. I'll flick it into manual and we'll hoot it around and see what it can do. Now, the couple of you have mentioned that you didn't like the way that I have mounted the DJI Air unit on the top, and I absolutely understand that. It is a bit quick and nasty. Now what I've done is I have connected it kind of temporarily. I'm going to take this one off as soon as I've done the maiden. This is going to be one of my test platforms for the Fat Shark Bite system. That is on its way here, and talking to Greg, the owner of Fat Shark, he has tested it in a couple of wings and it's been epic, and I want to see what that's like as well. So hopefully this will be flying around once the maiden's done with the Fat Shark system on it instead. Now, one of the things I have noticed talking about cameras is there is a huge amount of options on here for where you put your camera. Now, in the front there is this pod here which is suitable for things like the DJI camera. There is also a pod which is just a blank that you could use to cut out to then mount whatever camera you wanted in it. And you also have this little balsa wood piece that you can glue into the front that comes with a strap that you can use to hold a GoPro in place. Now, I'm not going to use action cameras in mine. I'm trying to keep it as light as possible to have as much possible fun. Plus, if I'm flying with something like a HD system, I'm going to be recording in HD kind of anyway. Now, the all-up weight, let's talk a little bit about that. The all-up weight for this is, as it's sat here with a battery, flight controller, I've done a couple of mods, I'll talk about those in a second. So there's a folding prop on the back of here. It is 1,069 grams. So that's pretty impressive for a meter wingspan to have it ready to go, and just be over a kilogram is pretty light. Most of the other models in this class this kind of size from this density VPP foam are a good 200-300 grams heavier, if not a little bit more. In terms of getting the central gravity right, the CG marks are again marked at the bottom, although in the advice that SonicModell have kind of brought out, they're saying they're a guide. We'll see how much of a guide they are in the Maiden. SonicModell tend to be pretty good, to be fair, of figuring that out. I like my Maidens to have the central gravity towards the front half of those CG marks that are molded into the bottom of the wing. To get that done, I've had to add a little bit of lead at the very front. If I was using an action camera in the nose, I wouldn't have had any issues getting the central gravity spot on, but I just needed a little kind of 5 gram weight of lead in the front. I've 3D printed a little blank that goes in the hole behind where the camera sits in here. I'll share that on Thingiverse, I'll put a link below, and that's a perfect spot to kind of push the lead into without getting it in the way of everything else. Now for the camera mount, I could also, if I was going to be keeping the DJI system, one of the things I could be tempted to try is actually mount the air unit in the pod at the side. Currently my pod over here has nothing in it now, it's completely empty. I've kind of blanked off the other little camera thing as well, just so it's slightly more aerodynamic. But the air unit would fit in there without a problem, and also the airflow on this side pod is pretty significant. I've got about the same amount of airflow on my mini drac running an internal air unit, and it stays cool enough to work beautifully for the entire flight. So if I was keeping the air unit on the DJI system, I might pop it over here, but again, for the testing with the SharkBite system, I'm going to put it on the top. So loads of places to put cameras, in short. It's just I feel like I'm kind of underutilizing it, just putting one camera on. Only done one other mod apart from that 3D printed piece at the front to block that off and also be a place to kind of push my little lead block into, and that is the folding prop. As I mentioned, it comes with a static prop. Some of the images floating around the internet have it as a folding prop. I think the folding prop's actually a really good idea. This is an Aeronaut. It's exactly the same size, pitch as the one that was on it originally. Got a couple of different ones. I'm a fan of the Aeronaut folding props. 38mm hub, 3D printed a couple of stops either side, balanced it, popped it on, and then when it lands, the idea is that will all fold out the way and not get snapped off. Because at the moment, I'm really not sure where I'm going to Maiden it, and if it comes down in somewhere a bit hard, I don't want my first Maiden to snap the prop and potentially damage the motor mount as well. So stay tuned for the Maiden flight. Apologies for those of you that are chomping at the bit wanting me to get this flown. I'm in exactly the same situation. I have a couple of wings here that I'm kind of working through that were going to be winter projects. This is going to be one along with its sister ship, which is still in the box. I am going to be using these as my kind of default wing from here on in. I just can't wait to see how it flies. The reports from the test pilots, people like Lee and the other guys at SonicModell during development, have been unbelievably encouraging. And I just want to see how it goes on my own experience. I guess one of the big things is that it is so lightweight, like I say, just over 1 kilogram in flying configuration with a 7,000 milliamp hour lithium ion battery, HD system on it, and the wing loading is pretty low for that because it is quite a deep beastie, and the center body is kind of a lifting body as well. So stay tuned, I will post video as soon as I get the Maiden done, and I'll probably post images on Instagram at the field as soon as I've done it. But keep your fingers crossed, I'll let you know how I get on.
Thank you for watching my video and watching right to the very end. If you want to find out what I'm currently working on, you can follow me on social media by searching for Painless360 in the usual places. If you'd like to become part of the inner circle, then you can become a Patreon. Details are in the description and you get lots of additional benefits. Check out the playlist section on the channel too. I organise all of my videos into playlists, and it's called something like Introduction to or for Beginners. All of the content is aimed so that you can start at the very beginning, and it teaches you that subject, starting with simple principles and moving up to teach you everything you need to know.